So here we have a controller that is being used inside of a directive called sortable, and we're using that controller to respond to sort events, right? As the user drags and drags and drops items in a list, right? And here we have the implementation. We refresh, and we drag this first element at position 0, and we drag it around, and it'll drop it in the last position, number 4. Notice that the controller is displaying the start and the end position. So to make this change permanent, we need to make the change at the server level, at the database level. So first, let's start with doing it on the server level. We had originally created a service that was implemented here in the service, right? That had an API to retrieve all the to-dos. We can extend this, right, by creating an API that, for instance, would allow us to maybe sort, right? That can receive the starting and end position, right, and then notify a server of the starting and end position. So start and end. Okay. To call this from the controller, we can inject this to-do service into the controller, right? And then here we can use the service, right, to call sort and pass the start and end position, so that then the service can then pass that information along to the server. So we can encode that in a URL. Saying that we are trying to be using a server-side API. In the experiments, we are manipulating to-dos, and we want to send a saying the start and end position. Right, I say that near the start is maybe start. Right, we put that as a placeholder, and that the end position is we're going to put in an end placeholder there, and then we're going to replace, we're going to say URL, we're going to replace the all occurrences of start, we're going to replace it with the value start, and we're going to replace all instances of end, we're going to replace it with the value of end. So now we should have the URL and send it over to the server. Perhaps as $HTTP, and since this is a modification, we're going to use the put verb or method and send the information, encoded information, using the URL. Now notice that this is going to fail on the server because we don't have a server's endpoint that is mapped to this URL. But let's see what we have so far. Let's refresh, and as we move this around, we drop it. Notice that it's complaining, saying that there is no such mapping to that URL. Right? It says the server came back with a 404, saying that you can't find that URL. Right? But nevertheless, we were able, if we see the network communication, we see that the URL indeed is correct. Right? API started at position 0, and it was dropped at position 3. Right? We see the request went out, and that it came back with a 404 that URL did not find. Right? So we need to implement the server side.